What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Fast Track podcast. I'm your host, Greg Helbeck, and today's topic is why 0% interest owner financing deals are probably the best deals you could do as a real estate investor. So I'm excited about this topic because last year in 2023 was the first time I actually ever pulled one of these off. And I got to tell you, once I did this one, I need to go find more of them because I'm going to explain in this video why this is the best type of deal you can do, how it will benefit you, how it can actually benefit the seller, believe it or not. So if you do get value from this or any other video or podcast I put out, if you could do me a big favor and like the video on YouTube, subscribe to my channel. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple, or if you could just share the show with others, it would mean a lot to me. And that's how we grow the show on a weekly basis. So 0% owner finance deals. What on earth is that? If you're brand new, you're probably like, Greg, what are you talking about? Well, there's a way in real estate investing where you can buy a property from an owner. And instead of having to go get a bank or instead of having to pay cash for that property, you can get the owner to give you a mortgage to buy their property if they own it free and clear. You can still do it if they have a loan on it, but that's a little more complicated, different type of strategy. If the owner owns a property outright with no mortgage, it's free and clear, you can buy the property, you can put something down or sometimes put zero down, and the owner can give you a mortgage and they can essentially finance their equity to you over time. So I'm going to use an actual deal that I bought in Pennsylvania to demonstrate how this works. So I got a lead. The guy wanted to sell a condo. He actually, ironically, was a mortgage broker, which is interesting how that made sense because he gave me a loan for free, but he sells loans for a living. He had a renter in the property, and the tenant was a little sketchy. She was kind of paying sporadically. He didn't want to deal with it. He owned it forever, and he wanted top dollar for his property, which is understandable. The guy was pretty savvy. And I told him, I can give you the price you want if you're willing to give me the terms I need. That's the key there. So I'll pay him his market value price if he owner financed me, because I found out that he owned it free and clear. I gave him $95,000 for the property. I put $10,000 down, and he gave me a mortgage for $85,000. But this is why the deal made a ton of sense, because you'd look at that deal normally and say, all right, you put $10,000 down, whatever. But the mortgage that he gave me is a 0% interest mortgage. So I got him to finance me the property for free with no interest. So the reason that benefits the investor first, and then I'll tell you what benefits the owner, is that even though I paid him market value, he gave me a loan for free. Type of loan is a principal-only payment loan. So when I pay him every month, which I've been paying him now since I bought the house in December, every time I make him a payment, it goes towards the principal. So it goes towards paying down the actual note. There's zero interest. The way that we structured that property was there was a 5-year balloon that we agreed upon. So that means that I'm going to make these payments for 5 years. And then after 5 years, I either have to pay him off, refinance with a bank to get him paid off, or sell the property and he'll get paid off regardless. Or I could call him up and say, hey, why don't we extend this and let's do another 5 years or do another 10 years. But by the time that note becomes due or I have to renegotiate with him, I'm going to have 60 months of principal pay down. So I'm going to build a ton of equity in this property just because I'm only paying him the principal. I'm not paying him interest. The payment to him is $400 a month, and I'm going to have to make 60 payments before the note becomes due. So that's $24,000 in principal pay down over 5 years. Property was worth about $95,000 when I bought it, which was 6 months ago. So $95,000 minus $24,000 is 71 grand. So the way I look at this is in 5 years, if the property doesn't go up in value at all, which is highly unlikely because it's in a pretty good neighborhood outside of Philadelphia, I would assume in 5 years that property is probably worth $130,000, $140,000, maybe even $150,000 just with the way things are nowadays with the appreciation going up. I'll owe the guy $71,000 on a property that's most likely going to be worth at least $130,000. If I sold it at that point, 130, and then there'd be like 10% closing costs and commissions. So I'd probably net about 90% of that. So I would get 117. I would pay off the loan of 71,000. I would pretty much make like $46,000 in profit on this property. I'm not going to sell it. It's highly unlikely that I'll do that. But here's why this is the best type of deal you can probably do. Number one, you're building equity in the property every time you make a payment. So every month that mortgage is going down and the property value is most likely either staying the same or going up. The second reason it benefits you is because I paid him essentially market value for that house based upon the highest price possible. I actually did a cost segregation study on this thing. I depreciated 30% of the purchase price in year one, so I basically got a really nice tax cut on that. Probably saved about $20,000 to $30,000 to use against my active income. So the way I look at that, even though I put money down, I save that money in taxes. So I pretty much wash my hands because I would have paid that money to the government anyway. So you get a lot of good tax breaks. You're paying the principal down, so you're building equity every single month, and you're able to rent that property out. So that is really why it benefits the investor. Now, why does it benefit the homeowner, or in this case, the previous landlord who was an investor? That owner now sold the property. He doesn't have to deal with being a landlord anymore. He was tired of dealing with his tenant. She was paying very sporadically, and he wanted to get consistent income from the property without being a landlord. So he's getting income now as being the bank, essentially. And at the same time, he's not paying taxes on the entire gain because he bought the property back in the day for super cheap. So if he were to sell that property to me for cash, he would have had to pay capital gains tax on whatever the sale price minus his purchase price. He's only paying taxes on the money that he received. So he paid some tax on the down payment. He's paying a little bit of tax on the money he's getting from me. So he's not having this huge tax liability situation. He's able to mitigate his hit from the government. So obviously, I'm not a CPA. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving you legal or tax advice. If you're going to do this with somebody, I recommend you have the owner speak with a CPA so they can get the best information they need. But at the end of the day, these types of deals, in my opinion, are the best deals you can do for the reasons I just stated. You can work deals out creatively with sellers without having to get banks involved. And it was a complete win-win situation. I was able to actually inherit the tenant that he was having trouble with, and I got her on a better payment schedule. So that is why owner financing deals with 0% interest, in my opinion, are the best types of real estate deals you can do from an equity standpoint, from a tax standpoint. I can tell you right now, they're not easy. A lot of owners, if you make them this offer, they're going to say, well, where's the interest? How come I'm going to give you a loan for free? So you're going to have to go through a bunch of people to find someone who will actually agree to this. But when you actually find the person who's willing to do this, it's a great situation. It can be a true win-win. And if you give the seller the price that they really, really want, and they're willing to give you the terms that you need, it can result in a great transaction and ongoing relationship with the payments for both parties. If you're interested in learning how to do this more in depth, if you have another question about this, send me an email, greg@velocityhousebuyers.com. Or if you're local to Delaware, New York, San Diego, Reno, or Seattle, and you have a property you want to wholesale me, or if you want to wholesale it with me, we can always JV it together because I got a great buyers list in all those areas. Send me an email, greg@velocityhousebuyers.com, and I'll see you on the next podcast/video. Take care.